Hello and welcome to Nintendo Pals Podcast, episode 31. Tonight, we talk Fortnite updates on Switch, what series would we like to see do crossovers, and what game deserves its own holiday. That and more. Alrighty. Well, I am joined tonight by fellow Nintendo pal, Micah.
Yep.
And I am Andros. And we are super excited to have with us the king of Nintendo dads himself, Jesse.
Things.
Jesse is joining us from the Nintendo Dads podcast. He is the man behind the curtain, I guess you'd say, for runs all the background audio, all the fancy music. It makes it sound nice. And he's a host as well on there. I guess I should make that clear. He's not in the background. He's on the front.
Yeah, I have many hats. There has been a few weeks where, like, if I wasn't feeling well, I would still be on the call listening in and still doing all the music. But I just will say I'm not on camera, I'm not on mic. But it doesn't happen very often.
Nice. So you guys have been doing Nintendo Dads has been going for a number of years now. It was 3, 4, 5?
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I was gonna say
we started like October of 2014.
Nice.
So well into the Wii U era.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the time to start a Nintendo podcast.
It was hard
right?
to find things to talk about.
Yes. We kind of started during the dry season of the Switch there, when we started here. I don't know. I guess you just start podcasts to complain about what's not going well, right? No, we have a lot of,
among other things.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about with the Switch, which is really nice.
The 3DS was also hot still. That was before it died off. So where there was missing gaps in Wii U news, there was 3DS content. So there was still always something to talk about.
Nice. Well, gentlemen, how are you doing this evening? Micah, how are things going in your neck of the woods?
Pretty good. No complaints.
No complaints? Weather getting better for you guys over there?
Yeah. Still not super warm, but I didn't have to wear a jacket when I went and played pickleball a couple days ago, so...
Nice. Still into the pickleball. You guys are doing that like every day, aren't you?
It's like an old person sport. Well, we do it a couple times a week.
Yeah. It's like the medium-sized tennis, right? You got table tennis, and then pickleball's right in the middle.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember trying to play that with part of an outing with the other managers for my business. This was like the late summer, early fall 2019, so pre-COVID. And I ended up ripping the hell out of one of my knees, and it hurt for probably 6 months before it was fine again.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, it's designed so you don't have to move too much, but I guess Jesse's an overachiever. Went for it.
And overweight overachiever is half the problem.
I learned it's still important to stretch before pickleball.
Yeah. I wanted to stop. My feet stopped. My legs decided to keep going, and I ended up falling into the net.
Well, I guess talking about falling into the net, how are things going for you over on you guys? You're located more Midwest, yeah?
Well, we're all over the world. I'm in the Kansas City area, like Marty's in Tennessee. Tim is in Michigan. Justin and Zach is in Canada. Justin was in Ireland for a while. And then when Gary Gray was with us, he was in the UK.
Yeah, diverse cast. That was one of the reasons I started listening to you guys and just really enjoyed your show, because everybody has like very, I'd say pretty distinct like dialects from where y'all are from, as well.
Yeah,
as,
I'd say so.
As well as very different gaming opinions. So.
And that's very much so.
But it's fun. It's fun. That's a good thing. Well, speaking of gaming opinions, let's jump right on over to the first segment of our show and talk about the Nintendo news. I actually mixed up our order here. We start with Whatcha Playin.
April Fools.
We start with
haha.
news.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. So I guess, Jesse, you're our guest. What have you been playing lately?
I'm gonna have to open up my Switch to get the name right. I've been playing Hatsune Miku Logic Paint S, which is like a Picross game that I don't know if you Hatsune Miku is like the Japanese virtual diva.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like they'll
yeah.
put on virtual concerts like with holograms on stage,
She's got the
and
blue hair, and she's like 20 feet tall or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you've seen like the Squid Sisters from Splatoon or KK Slider, those type of holographic concerts, she's pretty much the one who did it first, and or at least made it the most popular in Japan. Though ironically enough, I'm not a fan of the music in the game, so I play, but I'm still playing it for the puzzles. I just have it with the music off. But they basically, you when you solve the puzzles, you get stars. You get one for completing it, a second one for using no hints, a third one for getting no errors. And when you collect enough stars, you can start unlocking tracks. So when I think there's 1,650-ish total stars in the game. When you get into the 500 or 600s, you're able to unlock all the stars. So everything else is, I've already unlocked everything. Everything else is just playing the puzzles to completion.
Nice. So
yeah,
you're going for 100%ing it then, like getting.
Yeah, I normally 100% all the Picross games. Like the Picross S games, the Picross E games on the 3DS that are made by Jupiter. Those are like my favorite. Just have the interface locked down to a science, and I will play those games nonstop. And I might finish it in 2 or 3 weeks, but that was 60 hours of playtime in those 2 or 3 weeks. There's normally 400 to 500 puzzles in these games each.
Yeah.
And
They're cool. I dig a good Picross game. I don't get quite as into it, but they're
that's
good.
Picross is my mind relaxer type of game. Like if I'm if I'm getting hyperventilating or being overstimulated, that's where I go to calm down. Like I remember going on a vacation in Pennsylvania with my family that I despise because I don't like road trips. I don't like crowds, and of course they want to hit Hershey Park. So that was my. Whenever I had 10 minutes to myself, I whipped up my 3DS and knocked out some puzzles, and that calmed me down.
Nice. I don't think I have a game like that does that for me. Everything I play stresses me out.
Yeah, pretty much. Except Animal Crossing. I think.
That's true. Yeah, Animal Crossing's a good one. Nice. Anything else on your list of games you've been playing?
Yeah, goes into another of those games where I'm sure I'm the only one who will bring it up on tonight's show when we record tonight. But on Monday, Hasbro released the Game of Life 2. Which,
is it just a mobile version of the Game of Life?
Yeah, kind of.
Is it kind of like I don't know if you've played like Small World 2? Like they have like a lot of board games, their app version they just label as a sequel, but it's more of just an app version of the.
Well, it's still the full game, and more. So like the original mode is basically like what the original game. In fact, it's doing more things than I remember the board game doing. I don't know if they just enhanced the board game or if this is just doing things that the board game didn't do. But it's a lot of decision trees along the way. Like the first choice is the same. You want to go to college and start with less money, but with a better job, or just go into the career field right away. And then you're able to choose if you want to get married or not. I don't think that we had that choice in the past. then you get to choose
Yeah.
if you want to try to extend your family so that there's more spaces that'll get you, a child, or you can choose a pet instead of a child if you want, or you can choose the investment path. So there's more chances of buying a house and other real estate. So there's more decision paths than I remember, and there's also multiple boards that it's like the original board plus 3 additional ones, and there's going to be DLC that'll add like 7 or 8 later. And I was hoping like each board would effectively be a different game, but it's not, and I was a little disappointed in that. But what the jobs you can get are kind of tied to the board theme, and the type of real estate you can buy is themed towards whatever the board is. But the board's still the same either way. And
What kind of themes are
when
we
you
talking here? Like, I'm
like
trying to picture what that would be.
like it's like a spooky haunted house Halloween type of theme. There's one that's like an ice based theme. I haven't played most of them. I think I've only played one theme other than the original board game yet. Well, I think one's more of like a forest outdoorsy area. So your occupations would be your druid, your a lumberjack, blacksmith, versus I'm a computer programmer. I'm an artist. I
Oh,
am
okay.
an
That's
actor,
pretty cool.
which is like what you'd have in the original game.
Yeah.
But and I found out then the reason why they did it that way, because if you say I want to play a multiplayer game, they don't have to matchmake you with 3 other people playing the same board as you. They can still matchmake you with any 3 people. And if I'm on one board and they're on a different board, they'll just have the real estate and job options from their board that is different from mine, but it's still the same game.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Why they
And then
do it that way. Then.
each board also gives you tasks to do, which when you complete it, you'll unlock additional things like additional costumes your token can wear. I haven't played enough to unlock anything, but that it would require like 10 to 12 playthroughs to start unlocking things per board. Each board has a different set of unlocks. So I don't know if I'll be playing enough to actually unlock anything.
Oh, who's gonna play that much Game of Life?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Like
Nice.
I've played enough to win 3 times on the first board. I think I've played 5 games total so far.
It's like I don't know if I've even played 15 games of life total.
If you're playing against
That's
all
just the
computers,
original.
if you're playing against all computer people, you can put it in fast forward and
Yeah, I guess you can
fast
out games
play the
fast.
CPU. But again, the problem I have with that is when it's my turn again, it doesn't auto kick in the fast forward. I've got to turn it on every time. I want to turn it on and keep it on.
Yeah. Yeah, there was
And of course, you can't do that in a multiplayer game. It does have local multiplayer, which I haven't played with anyone yet because I don't have kids at home anymore. I don't know if it's like live, take turns in real time, or if it's more like asynchronous gameplay. I take my turn and then give it to my kid to play whenever he feels like it. Then he gives it back to me. I don't know if it's that type of thing.
That would be cool.
Like I've seen iPad games that are kind of like pass the system around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike
I
and I
don't
played.
know if this is that type of game or not.
Micah and I both got from Humble Bundle. They did a tabletop deal where you got a bunch of virtual tabletop games, and played a couple that are like that. That it basically passes the game around. You have a timer that you use up, but you don't have to play right away. It's kind of like take your time.
That's cool. I remember like a Monopoly like game that was on iPad that I play with my kids. But
nice.
That's been a while.
Anything else you want to highlight on played recently? It's been the game of life.
Those are the only 2 games I've been playing. Now I did pick up a game that came out today called What Comes After. I haven't played it yet. Someone else, it might have been Nintendo from our Discord, did a review, and we have that video on our YouTube channel. He says it's just like an hour and a half story you walk through. It's not really a game. You don't really have decisions. It just kind of tells a story. But it sounded interesting to me, so I picked that up. I think it's like $7. Well, I had like $21 worth of gold points, so I paid $0.
Nice. Yeah, that should be a good one. Excited to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, I think I have like 13 cents worth of gold points right now.
Well, Michael, what have you been playing since last we talked?
Well, I played Fortnite again for the first time in like 2 weeks. I heard about the improved frame rate and resolution, and I didn't really notice anything with the resolution, but it definitely did seem to run a little smoother, or it just paired me with easier people because I seem to do a lot better. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm a little biased because of that or if it's actually running quite a bit better, but it seems to be a bit more smooth.
I started it up, and first game I tried to join, it crashed. So,
oh yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, frame rate fixed.
They were they were like Bluetooth like chat issues or something that would cause it to crash.
Yeah, and I did have my headset in, so it was definitely an audio issue that was causing it, because it was coming in through really crackly, and then just my game completely crashed. But after that, we played together some. And yeah, I don't know if I noticed too much with the resolution. It did look a little better, especially in the menus. Like the starting menus when you can like look through and change your character and cosmetics. That looked better than it has been looking.
I imagine in the middle of gameplay, you're not going to notice because you're too busy worrying about other things like breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone's like in my face with a shotgun. I'm generally not like, wow, that tree's looking real good over there.
Yeah. And the update added dinosaurs. So.
Oh yeah, which I saw one raptor for like half a second before someone killed it.
I never saw one. The whole time we were playing. Yeah.
Actually, I guess one other time I came across a pack while I was running from the storm and gave them a wide berth. But I haven't interacted with them too much. And besides that, I think I hopped onto Rocket League once or twice, a couple hours, and then most of my time has gone into Valheim, though.
Yeah, I'd already forgotten about Valheim, even though how could I? Because we played for like 8-10 hours this week.
Yeah. But I recently found out that the best way to mine copper is to just get a troll to attack you. And you keep dodging its attacks because it damages the copper a lot more than you do, a lot faster. And you don't have to worry about your pickaxe breaking. So that's my little pro strat for everyone.
Do you want to share our Valheim adventure story, or do you want me to do that in my Whatcha Playin?
Oh, I'll let you do that. I don't even want to think about that anymore.
You can pitch your 2 cents in there. So for me, I also played some Fortnite. Obviously played a little bit with Micah, mostly to just jump in and test out the updates, as we're going to talk a little bit about it in the news. I also decided to download Wii Party U digital onto our Wii U. The game goes for $80 plus nowadays for a physical copy, and I was like, I really wanted to try it. I'm very glad I did not pay $80 for it. It is not. I don't think it's worth that much, but it is fun. Some of the games are better than others, I'd say, but it definitely captures the I don't know, the same feeling that the first game had, and that was why we got it. My family really liked Wii Party, and so I thought, well, I want to play the sequel.
Yeah. I just looked at what it cost digitally to buy it. It's $40.
Yep. Yeah, so it was about half what you could get it for physical.
The collector's market is a weird market sometimes.
I just don't think there's a ton of these out there. It's not one that I heard about until
Yeah, until you bought it,
yeah.
essentially.
So I guess I'll highlight some of the games I played on there. There's a couple dice rolling board game Mario Party style games. The first one, which is like a sequel to Board Game Island, was called like Dice Roll Island, and good grief, it took forever. And the reason it took forever is because all of your rolling is done using a mini game on the gamepad for the Wii U. So you could have just a basic dice roll where you have to flick the dice to roll it, but then there were like little mini games like balloons flying with numbers on them, and you have to blow a dart and try and hit the number you want, kind of thing. Or tilt the cannon and it will shoot an arc into a number. Or what are those?
It sounds convoluted.
Yeah, well, that's not too bad. I actually really like the concept. It's just every
Seems
single
to take a
player,
long time.
yeah, every single player gets a pop-up that says this is how you play. Hit go and then hit go. It's just bogged down by too many menus because it's a little complicated, if that makes any sense. And you can tell this game is trying really hard to cater to people that are not used to very complex game mechanics. So there's just a lot of menus that each person has to go through.
That reminds me of the Animal Crossing Amiibo party, where if you wanted to roll the die, you had to tap a card or an amiibo every time. You can't just push a button and roll.
Yeah.
It's like that.
They got old really quick.
It's like that, but definitely more fun. The mini games on it are good, and they tried to do a lot of fun stuff with the gamepad. You can tell. So the better version of that game is called Highway Rollers, and in that one, each round you play for position. So whoever gets first place in the mini game gets the most dice to roll, and you have this really long highway that zigzags back and forth. And the first place person rolls like 12 dice. The next place rolls 8, and the next rolls 4, and the last place rolls 2. And even though that seems like you would get like big discrepancies, we were all really close to each other all the time. Even with, I think I won most of the mini games because there's enough going on the board that you could catch up. And it has that Mario Party not fair ness to it, where
the blue shell and the bullet bill effects.
Yes. Yep.
For
where
those
I was like way
losing,
far
you
ahead.
get boosts.
I land on a space and it's like, oh, whatever you roll will happen to the people in last place. And there were 2 people tied for last place, and they got teleported to my spot. And suddenly we're in first place with me. I'm like, well, that's cool.
That reminds me of their last time playing Board Game Island, where I felt like I was winning most of the mini games, and I was in last place by far because I just kept landing on the worst spots.
Yeah. So it's a better Mario Party game than Mario Party 10. I will say that for sure. It's fun. And then there's this
debatably a low bar.
Yeah, for sure. I'm enjoying the game. I think it's worth playing if you have a Wii U and like Mario Party like games. Definitely a good one to pick up. The mini game collections on it as well are pretty fun. They do a lot. You can tell they're really playing with the gamepad, and that's it. They're really leaning into the gimmick, like hardcore, like gamepad we're using for everything. So, and then besides that,
from what I see, it sold just under 1.6 million units.
That's pretty good for Wii U.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's over 10%.
I was gonna say, that's like 10%.
Why is no one talking about getting this ported to Switch, huh?
Because it needs the gamepad.
Yeah, it's a very gamepad heavy game. I just would like a sequel. It's developed by ND Cube, I think is the developer, and they do a lot of the they do the modern Mario parties, I believe. They did a better job with this than they did with Mario Party. So it restored my faith in them as a group, I'd say. So besides Wii Party U, I played a little bit more of Pikmin Plus. My son loves the game, but he gets stuck on it quite a bit, so ends up going, "Hey, could you do this level for me?" And I just do the level for him. that's such a fun game. I still really enjoy it, even though I've played through the whole game. Um, and then last, I guess I'll talk about Valheim. Valheim has kind of sucked away gameplay time for me, which is funny because it's not on the Switch. Hopefully, it will be coming to the Switch, like we talked about in a previous episode. But great game. Definitely a good survival adventure game, especially if you have friends that play it. I have played it a little bit solo. Mikey, you've played it a little bit more solo, right? And it's
Yeah.
fun, but it's definitely more fun with a group.
Yeah.
If anybody's playing Monster Hunter right now, I think it's kind of similar in that regard. It's totally playable and very fun solo, but there's just like another level you get when you have friends playing with you. Our adventure in Valheim, we started with trying to... 'cause when you die in that game, it does the classic... and now like standard, you drop all your loot and you have to go get your loot back from the spawn point kind of deal. Except we died in potentially the worst biome in the game, which is what is it called? Is the plains? The field?
The plains.
The plains have an enemy called the Death Skeeto.
And this area is way above our level. We should not have been there.
Yeah. The Death Skeeto it is a one-hit killer. And it can fly as fast as you can run. And you have a stamina bar like in Breath of the Wild kind of deal. So you run out of stamina and you're dead, basically. It's essentially like a creeper in Minecraft if the creeper could fly. Like that's exactly what it is. And it is I absolutely can't stand it. So much.
And they're small. Sometimes you just don't even see them coming.
Yeah.
You get a split second of buzzing before you just explode.
Yeah.
As they stab you.
I cursed the design of that enemy so much during our gameplay session. I know it's kind of like a gatekeeper to keep you out of that area, but if you accidentally get there for whatever reason, like the first time we discovered the Desquito was completely by mistake. And Mike is just like, run, get out, it killed me in one shot. And we all are like, ah! Like just scrambling. Terrible design.
It took us probably like an hour to get our loot back without dying.
And then from there, we had an adventure trying to find the materials we needed to build a boat to cross the ocean. And again, met with misfortune. We sail in the ocean for quite some time, and we're in one of the faster boats. Like we built a good boat, not the like dinky raft that you can build with just wood.
Yeah.
Which that would have taken forever. I'm very glad Micah convinced me to build the actual boat. We hit shore on the other side, and enemies spawned like mad. There was
like a
there
swamp.
Were skeletons. There was these in the water leeches, like eels, like the shrieking eels from Princess Bride. They looked
Princess
exactly
Bride,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, they're like swimming around the boat.
There's an oozer.
There was an oozer,
some slime
which
monster
causes
that
you
poisons you.
Poison, yeah, and some draggers.
Essentially, just extra scary skeletons.
And a wraith. Like all of those were just there, and we died so fast, like just instant, like. And so our spawn points, unfortunately, were on the other side of the ocean, and we no longer had our boat or any of our gear, so we had to basically start from scratch on building the boat. So Micah and I then sailed across the ocean in nothing but our underwear, because that's all we had. We just did enough to build the boat. Tried to get our stuff back real quick. I died again, but Micah pulled through and got us set up.
I had to
over
run
there.
around for like 15 minutes trying to lure things away and then run back to get my loot without dying.
And on that second boat ride, we got attacked by a sea monster. And according to the internet, the boat is supposed to go faster. It's supposed to be able to outrun the sea serpent. That is not true.
It's slightly true. But
we were going at
sometimes
pace.
It attacked. Yeah, sometimes it would like catch up and attack and miss, but it still hit us a couple times.
Yeah,
which was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, we've had it's fun. It's the sense of adventure that comes out of the game. It's very fun.
Yeah, I just recommend just don't go into the ocean if you have a raft and that's all you're using,
Yep.
because the serpent sea monster things will just wreck you, and if you have good loot, it will be very difficult to get.
Yeah. Yep. Luckily, we have discovered portals in that game, so our home base now is just a permanent spot, and we can make two ends of a portal to get to new locations. But we have to set up the portal in the spot first. That was our problem there. But we set it up. We're set to go in this very high level area that we are definitely not supposed to be in yet. But that's the fun of the game. It's open world adventure. That's it for me. That's all I've been playing, and excited to play some more. Well, let's move to the next segment of our show and talk about some Nintendo news. Today for Nintendo news, we've already hit on this a little bit, but Fortnite gave an update to the Switch for a resolution and frame rate boost, which I think was much needed. Mike and I had both noted it's been several seasons where it's been kind of rough to play on the Switch.
Yeah, it seems like it's just been getting worse and worse.
Yeah. Each thing they add in just dips it farther down. So glad that they took some time to specifically update the Switch. And then we have more details out now on the Pikmin app, because the beta is going in Singapore. Now, Jesse, I can't recall if you're a Pikmin fan. I thought you had liked that series quite a bit.
Yeah, I do like the Pikmin series, and I'm also a big Pokemon Go player. Also from the Niantic. So I am interested in the Pikmin app, AR app, whatever they're going to call it. I don't think it even has an official name yet, but
yeah.
So I'm keeping my eye on this.
So new details that came out come from so the beta testing in Singapore is supposed to be closed. There's stuff leaking out on yeah.
When does that ever work?
None of these beta apps are staying very secret. It looks like, based off of what's been shared, you essentially walk and drop seedlings behind you that you can then go and it like helps your Pikmin to sprout and grow. It doesn't look, as of right now, it doesn't look like it's location based like Pokemon Go, where you have to go to different stops. But
yeah,
more,
that's my understanding. It's more just distancing than location.
Yep. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm wondering what market they're trying to capture with this, because like Pokemon Go is quite legendary as like a super successful app, kind of lightning in the bottle. Like when it first came out, it was huge. Like for that first 2 months, it was like everybody was playing for so much, and it's still going pretty strong. The user base is pretty big, and they give regular updates. Jesse, you're still playing. Micah, you still play as well. So
yeah, and with the changes they did so that people play more easier and more during the pandemic, they had I don't think it was a record revenue over their first year, but at least it was their next, other than their first year, it was the highest revenue they've had from that game.
Wild.
Yeah.
I guess where I was going with that is like I really don't see the Pikmin app being able to capture that kind of success, especially with it not being location based. I was kind of hoping it would do something different mechanically, and it is doing something different, but it's very toned down, and I just wonder who it's targeting and how successful it's going to be.
Yeah, it sounds like it's, I guess, more passive. Like you don't have to interact with it as much.
It's like an idle game where
kind of.
The more you walk, the more the numbers go up. But to some people, they like seeing numbers go up, but that's not a mainstream type of logic.
Yeah. Although then you'll get Pikmin. I don't know if there'll be some sort of camera that you can like rearrange your Pikmin and take pictures of or something. Yeah, I don't
I mean,
know.
they emphasized pretty well in the announcement that it was an AR app. Like that was going to be a big feature. So I
Yeah,
do wonder what they're going to do with that.
With at least with Pokemon Go, I have the AR functionality off, just because when it works well, and it gives you a good sense of scale and how large these creatures are. But they don't work as good that often, so I normally don't even bother. So
yeah,
instead of trying to catch things out in the real world, I'll just use its static background.
Yeah. That's what I don't know of anybody that uses the AR. Most everybody I've talked to plays with that turned off. So who knows? Hopefully it does well. I want to see more growth for Pikmin, which
Mm.
is
yeah.
kind of a
This
Pikmin joke.
who knows
But
this. This might just be their precursor to hype up Pikmin 4.
That's what I'm hoping.
or it is Pikmin 4.
Hmm.
I really hope not. Yeah, Pikmin 4
Yeah,
definitely needs to be a thing. It's Pikmin 3 sold pretty well on the Switch, all things considered. They added Pikmin to the theme park as like little Easter eggs, and now they're getting an app. It seems like Miyamoto's trying to shoehorn them in to be a bigger series. Move them up from C tier to A tier, kind of, kind of deal. So,
And he goes, Animal Crossing did it. Pikmin can do it too.
yeah, yeah. We'll see. Pikmin 4. Um, Next, Nook Link is now active on the Nintendo Switch Online app. So you can earn points using that app by logging in. I think you can earn points every day and then use that to get exclusive items with Nook points. So that's cool. I did not get a
Oh,
chance to look at what those items were, so I don't know.
I saw people sharing their screenshots in our Discord, and I had no idea what this was about. But I guess this is what it is.
Yeah, it's another point system. I think it's interesting that they decided to do this with the app, just because they hardly use the app, and then to give it an update like this, because Animal Crossing's still really big. Definitely shows that they want people to utilize the application more. So hopefully there's more coming there. Yeah, I have not tried this out yet. I'll have to give it a shot and see what items we
yeah.
get.
I don't know if I'll ever actually try it out.
Yeah, we've fallen off the Animal Crossing train pretty hard. Jesse, are you still playing regularly?
No, I played it from the end of May into maybe early July, and or maybe near the end of July, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think I
one
made.
who I don't like my play style isn't compatible with those play for 10 to 30 minutes a day forever type of games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
If I like to play one game at a time as hard as I can, and then when I'm done with it, then I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think what happened for me is because that's my play. Because I like to play games very. I don't like to play passive type games. I went very into it at the beginning and played a lot and got done with everything. Especially if you utilize
yeah,
the turnip market, you just have enough money always.
Yeah,
yeah,
And
and our community was like really on that turnip market and initially, sharing, hey, I got 550. Here's my code.
yeah,
yeah. It seems like every week we had someone who was in like the 500s.
yep. I was like, I I think when I last logged in, I was like, oh man, I wonder how much money I have. And I'm like 33 million bells. I'm like, oh, I just said that. I'm set. Still, I have not. I'm
Yeah,
never gonna be able to spend all that. It's funny because I would have loved to have that when I played the game on DS when I played Wild World. I never the turnip market because it's so online now because of the online world we live in. It's a lot easier to get good prices.
yeah,
Yeah, the 3DS version was online limitedly, so I don't think I wasn't. At least I wasn't in a community when that game was new, where that shared that information as freely as the Switch version. But that was probably one of the reasons why I didn't play it for as long, is because, I'd buy money. I'd put money into the turnips and then would never have a day where I would profit.
Yeah.
Like it was destined to lose no matter how much I threw at it.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know how I feel about the turnip mechanic. I almost wish they'd take it out because it did make it so you could just cruise through the games. I basically bought an upgrade to the house every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of ruin the economy.
Yeah, it just kind of ruined the economy.
Yeah.
That's good.
I just remember at first I was working very hard to upgrade my house, and then it's like, oh, first time doing turnips got me like 5 million bells. I'm like, I guess I'll just don't have to work so hard.
Yeah. Oh, no more harvesting fruit or catching bugs ever again. I'm set
Yeah.
in the stock market. Yeah. Then I guess our last bit of news here is the new season of Rocket League will be starting April 7th, and they're pairing up with NASCAR, which I don't think they've done before, and it makes a lot of sense. I don't know how many people are playing Rocket League are also fans of NASCAR though. I don't know how
Yeah,
much
I'm not quite
crossover
sure how
there
much
is,
overlap there really is.
but it makes sense because it's cars.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And that does it for news. It's light news time. But we should be expecting some news here soon, right? I mean, we're recording this a day after Mario's death date. Rest in peace, Mario games. Oh, I didn't talk about that. I played Mario 35 a little bit back in Whatcha Playin because I had to, I had to get a win in before I lost. Actually, best I got was second. But
Close.
I wanted to play a little bit more before it was gone forever.
But did you play during the time where they had the world count challenge, where they were trying to collect 350 million coins between? I forget the start of the
I
of the.
think, yeah, I
I think
think
it was
I
like last
missed.
Tuesday until the 30th.
Yeah, I think I missed that challenge. Wait. So that was just recently the coin one, because there was
Yeah.
one. Oh no, the Bowser one was the one that failed, right?
No, the first one was the Bowser one that succeeded. The second one was the Goomba one that failed. It needed 350 million Goomba, and I think they got to like 310. But the last one was 350 million coin, and they had over 500 million coins collected.
Yeah, a lot of coins
Yeah.
in that game. Yeah. So I did do that.
I think the Bowser kill was like 3.5 million Bowsers, and they got 4 or 5 million.
They did have a special mode going where the worlds went in order, so you played basically through the regular game. I thought that was cool. That was a lot of fun. I did the speedrunner route where take the secret warp pipe on 1-2 to 4-1. The only problem with that is that I'd end up on 4-1 where Lakitu is like the prominent enemy, and those, if you start killing those, they start multiplying like mad, and then it's just chaos. Yeah. So
I have had a screen of nothing but Lakitu. It's like a wall of Lakitu.
yeah,
You try and find some blocks to hide under.
And it's just not enough. They're just
like,
floods of spikies.
I would try to get to the top and just kind of like surf the wave, but if you miss, and you will not survive.
I don't know, and you can't get a power up off in time to stay alive, even if you hit the button right away from falling, because you'll just die again. It gets pretty hard.
You have only so many iframes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mario. So where I was going with that is I do think we should be getting some news here soon, right? Pokemon Snap coming the end of the month, but beyond that, we don't have a lot. Mario Golf, I think, is set for June.
I think it's June.
And Zelda Skyward Sword slated for July. But besides that, there's nothing first party announced. Not even like prominent third party announced beyond that. So hopefully.
Kind of expecting E3-ish time. I know the ESA is trying to get an E3, a digital E3 up and running. They still don't even have full buy-in by their membership yet. And then if they do, they want such a high price tag to be part of it that it's just cheaper for people, even smaller companies, to just do their own thing.
Yep.
And so I don't know how well this is going to go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So what's the time frame from that? Is that usually?
It's usually
Third
second week
week
June, but
June.
this year it's third week June.
Should be around that time, and that lines up well with time to announce stuff for the end of the year for Nintendo. Time to start getting that holiday info.
Hoping for some Zelda 35th news.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Well, with that, let's move over to the next segment of our show, which is the rumor mill. And this isn't really a rumor, but I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. Tencent, who's partnered with Nintendo on Pokemon Unite and on a lot of their distribution type stuff for China.
Yeah, I think they sell the Switches in China.
Yes. They have put a patent out or submitted for patent for what looks to be a Switch clone. It looks very similar to the Switch as a game console. And it really makes me wonder like what the plan is with that. Are they going to do their own games with that, or is it going to be like a setup with PC gaming of sorts? It's a weird one. I know Tencent doesn't necessarily have the best reputation among the gaming community, so it does make people leery to see them doing like just a straight copy. Well, because that's kind of what they're known for, is just straight copying people. But of a whole hardware piece like this. But the question I have for you guys is should Nintendo be worried about other companies entering the tablet gaming? Well, it's not really tablet gaming, like the handheld gaming market.
Yeah, I think it depends on what they're planning on doing with it. If this is meant to be like a mini PC, then that's kind of a different market. If they're going to have their own games, then is this going to be China only, or are they going to go for worldwide distro? And if that's the case, how compatible is that patent compared to Nintendo's patents? Is there a clash, and would NCL have anything that they can sue on?
Yeah, that's true. Especially since they're working so closely with them, it seems like that would be a dangerous spot to try and enter in.
I don't know copyright law, much less international copyright law. I have a feeling if this is something that if this turns into a product that's China only, I don't know if Nintendo can touch them. But if they go overseas, then they probably have a chance to bite at something, maybe.
Yeah. Micah, you got any thoughts? What do you think of Nintendo?
I mean, it seems like Nintendo is pretty much the only company that has done like a really successful handheld. So, I mean, if I was Nintendo, I don't think I'd be that worried. I don't think PlayStation, Xbox are going to be trying to get into that. They're generally a little more worried about power, and going handheld really limits that.
To do the PSP, but that
I'd
say was a failed venture.
Yeah, it didn't do too well.
Yeah, well, PSP's problem. Well, it sold a lot of hardware, but not a lot of software, because the problem was it was so easy to mod it for piracy.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, that was
unfortunate.
PSP's problem.
Yeah, my thoughts
I think
are
Vita is a little bit more secure, but I think in 2021, it's a pretty easy system to hack as well, especially with the Vita stores going offline.
Yeah, my thoughts are similar to Micah's in that I think anybody trying to enter the handheld gaming market, Nintendo's been king of that for ever, since Game Boy. So
1989.
yeah, so I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to break in, but does that feel kind of
Sophomore year in high school.
Monopoly-esque? I don't know. I think I do think that there's just like a certain level of quality and clout that comes with the Nintendo name. So they're always going to have a little bit of a leg up on a handheld. Because I mean, even in the days where the PSP was fresh and new and had more power, the DS far outsold. Just because price and also game library, like there was just a lot that you could get. So I'm not super worried about the Tencent deal. I think it might just be like Jesse was speculating, a China only product that's maybe meant to compete, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, because in the past, basically they outlawed consoles in China, and so basically a system that had software sold separately than the hardware. That's kind of like how they defined it. So like Nintendo was able to get around it, like in the N64 era, by the selling the iQue. It's basically an all-in-one box with the games built in that they sold on the China market. So it was sold as a plug and play, not a console. Things like that. But
Yeah,
they did lift that rule 10-ish years ago. I don't know my China history very well, but when it comes to gaming, but I know that rule doesn't exist anymore. But that there is history in there. Nintendo's dealt with it.
yeah. Well, so that does it for the rumor mill. Unless you guys have heard any new rumors. Got
Nope.
I'm hoping
Nope.
to hear some rumors of new direct. Like we were talking about Zelda 35. I'm very hopeful we get something. I think that they will do something. Will it be as big as Mario? I don't know.
Well, I saw a
Doubt
lot
it.
of rumors today. The problem is April 1st, and
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to find news for the show like today, just going through and checking. Like, oh, I saw I saw someone did an article for a remaster of Mario is Missing. It's coming to Switch. Mario is Missing plus Bowser's Jury.
yeah, I
Nice.
think I saw that on Twitter.
Good times. So yeah, don't trust news today. I mean, these our episodes go up Monday, so it'll be past. But I think my favorite was someone posted in the Nintendo Dad's Discord video. It was like Discord announcing their merge with Microsoft, and it's just a good old fashioned Rickroll.
Yep. And that account got deleted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because Andrew sent it to me, and when I opened it up, it was like, nope, this isn't available anymore.
Yeah, I was bummed about that. So let's move to the last segment of our show, which is the Community Corner. So here in the Community Corner, we answer questions that and talk about topics that we get from you, the listening community. If you'd like to be in on these kinds of conversations or submit suggestions, things to talk about, head on over to our Discord. Links to that are in the description of the podcast or video, depending on where you are watching. So with that, let's jump into some of these questions. We got a lot directed for Jesse, so we'll this will be fun. We'll talk about these. So first comes from Spider Shan on Discord. He asks, what series would you most like to see crossover with another? And how would it play out? And he gives an example. To give an example that Jesse might be into, I'd like to see a Dragon Quest and Picross game. It would
I
have
I would buy that 3 times.
yeah, it would have a Dragon Quest story and some RPG elements, but also progressed through Dragon Quest themed Picross puzzles. That does sound like a pretty cool concept, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. People have been getting more creative with Picross games the past few years. Like they've had like a Zelda and a Pokemon one that was also made by Jupiter. I talked about that earlier, but non-Jupiter games like last year they had Murder by Numbers, which is Picross mixed with a murder mystery, and there was I don't even remember the name of it now, but it's basically a dating sim with in Picross. It was a weird game, but I liked it. I'll have to find
I
that.
remember that one. Like, yeah, I remember that one being on the eShop. Uh, Nintendo's done some pretty high profile crossovers.
Pixel Puzzle Makeout League.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah. That's why I remember it. It had a weird name.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
but trying to think of something that's not Picross. Um, I like this. It'd be fun to see like different RPGs franchises merging together. You know, think of like a Final Fantasy and a Dragon Quest something together would be easy to do since both are now owned by the same company. But there are other RPG types of product out there, like Fire Emblem, that something could be done. I just,
I mean, they did
people have
the
asked me if I would ever wanted to come up make my own game, and my answer was I don't have the imagination for that, which is why I do business applications. That's a job.
uh, they did do the Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei. The gosh, what is that called?
Yeah,
Fire
Tokyo
Emblem.
Mirage Sessions.
Yes,
I
FE
did like that
Sharp.
game.
I remember that.
Yeah, Sharp FE. Because I was originally worried that if this was going to be Fire Emblem using uh, Persona characters, I wouldn't like it because I don't like the Fire Emblem gameplay. But it was the other way around. It was more like Persona gameplay with Fire Emblem characters, and that I liked. I ended up playing it both on the Wii U and the Switch.
Nice.
I wasn't originally going to play it on the Switch, but we got a review code.
Nice. Yeah, so that was a pretty high profile crossover. Micah, you got any ideas for what you'd like to see combined?
I don't even necessarily know if I'd like to see it, but I think it could be a pretty good match. The Chibi Robo and Pikmin, both small people in a world. But I
That
feel
would
like
be
that
so cool. Yeah, that's a good
could
one.
make exploring the worlds of like Pikmin a little cooler if you could. I guess although I heard it was reviewed very poorly, the Ziplash or whatever, you could use like the whip thing to swing around. If you could sort of do that in the Pikmin world to explore around, I think
Have
that
the
would be pretty
Pikmin
cool.
find batteries that goes back to the home base to do then a mission with the robot.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think there could be some cool stuff
Yeah.
there.
That's a good idea. Very creative. Definitely more creative than my answer, which I'm gonna say I'd like to see. Oh, nice! We got a guest, another guest. Our cat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Normally I don't have cats down in my office, but we're having one of my wife's friends is going to be over for the weekend with 3 dogs because her house is being shown to sell, so they can't be there. So if the dogs are upstairs, the cats won't be.
Yeah.
yes,
So
understandable.
I got to deal with cats all weekend down here.
There are worse things to deal with.
I was going to say I'd like to see I would like to see, so this is kind of cop out answers, but I would like to see a bigger crossover adventure type game, something that combines like Smash Bros, where you've got like the big names, so something like Mario, Zelda, Metroid, all combined for an adventure game of sorts. So instead of it being like uh, a Smash
Yeah,
Bros. Fighter
the Wii version of Smash had a mode that kind of did that.
with
Subspace Emissary.
yeah with
The
Subspace
subspace, yeah.
Emissary. Yeah, I'm thinking more like a 3D adventure game, I guess, or maybe it's more. Maybe it's more like an RPG, and it's turn-based fights or something like that. Would be cool. Just something different. I feel like Smash Bros takes it, and it's very popular and very good. But I want to see more games with that roster. You know, that kind of crossover roster.
Yeah.
So that's my cop out answer, and then kind of an out
Like,
there pick. I'd say I'd like to see an XCOM like game that uses either Metroid stuff, or I think it would be fun to do something with Legend of Zelda with that as well.
so like take the Mario Rabbids gameplay with different franchises.
I just don't like. I'm not a huge fan of rabbits. Personally, I don't. I'm okay if Mario and Rabbids didn't have the rabbits part of it. The gameplay's great. But that's what I want, something like that.
And
Maybe a little bit
someone
more.
someone who doesn't like strategy games much, I still that is a game I did like. And I played. I didn't 100% every mission, but I played through the story and the entire DLC at least once.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I would definitely get a Metroid version of that.
just a Metroid version of XCOM. Even if XCOM teamed up with them, I don't know. I like that gameplay style, but I want it with an IP that
You care about?
I care
I
about.
guess.
I mean, I care about Mario, but it wasn't enough for me to jump all in on it. You know, I think a Zelda game in that same sphere would be really cool. I'm okay with us not crossing over with Warriors anymore. Like, it's cool, but I think it's overdone.
I know the Persona 5 Strikers, they got to tone down the Warriors aspect and to be more like a Persona game, and I think they did that really well.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that. So maybe more sequels in like the Hyrule Warriors series will be a little bit more Zelda-like than Warriors-like. Because that's honestly, I was just like, nah, this isn't for me. So
Yeah, I wasn't interested in the in Age of Calamity. If I was interested in it, I would probably be so burned out I wouldn't want to play Persona, and I wanted to play Persona,
yeah,
so I didn't play Age of Calamity. I tried the demo and I didn't like it.
I think story-wise, Persona probably did a better job as well, where it was just like a direct sequel to Persona 5. So
Yeah.
Where Age of Calamity
And,
kind of did some interesting stuff with the story. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's still playing through it because it's long, but
yeah,
they
well,
definitely didn't.
the things I liked the least about the original Breath of the Wild were when I come up across a Talus or so one of those big monsters that just takes time to kill. And I'm like, I have a feeling Age of Calamity is just going to become will boss rush the game. And I'm watching my son play it, and it's doing exactly what I didn't want it to do. And I'm like, I'm glad I did not buy this game.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's my pick. Metroid XCOM. I really like the Chibi Robo Pikmin idea. That's a good one. I wouldn't have ever thought of that. Maybe give Chibi Robo a chance.
Yeah, I've never actually played Chibi Robo, so
I remember trying back in the day, but I didn't get very far. Don't know if it was lack of interest or lack of time or what, but I just don't remember playing it much.
It's one that has a good cult following, I'd say. Very, very popular among its fan base. So
Yeah, I don't think I have the disc anymore, so I couldn't play it if I wanted to.
well, thank you so much for the question, Spider Shan. That was a good one. I dug that. All right. So then we got a question from Solo Something, which you kind of hit on a little bit, but I'll ask it. He says, my question is for Jesse, since he has done a lot of RPGs like me. And his main jam seems to be Dragon Quest, which you've played through all Dragon Quests multiple times on some of those. Just to give it
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
history.
I've played through every mainline Dragon Quest that was released in North America at least once. When I finished Dragon Quest 3 last year, that was the first time I rolled credits on that game. But of course, I haven't played 10 because that hasn't been released in North America. But I've played all of them at least one other time. Like I played 7 twice. I played 8 twice. I've only played 9 once. That's the next. If I ever pick it when I start picking up Dragon Quest again, 9's the next on my playlist.
Nice. So Solo Something's question is: has Jesse ever thought to of his own RPG game story arc and game mechanic that he would not mind producing one day if the stars all aligned?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like a fun project, but again, I've never been very creative when it comes to my programming. In fact, very similar question was asked to me in our Discord when I mentioned that I bought a book on programming for it in television. I picked up one book a few years ago and kind of went through those exercises and was able to play the games in an emulator. And I've since got a flash cart and I have it connected to my television, which is here at my desk, so I can stream it if I wanted to. So I want to go through the stuff in that book again before the second book gets here that has more advanced games, and so I can at least go through them and play them on a real machine. Then I was asked if I'd ever thought about making my own game. I'm like, I just don't have the imagination for that. So kind of my answer is the same here. Is it sounds fun, but I just wouldn't have any ideas on what to do if I had the chance to do anything. I'd rather just play the games instead of make them.
Yeah, it's hard to do that aspect of games well. Um, Especially coming up with unique mechanics and then also doing like world building and character and world creation is not as easy as you'd think.
Yeah, if I ever was on a team that would be writing a game, I'd want to probably do some of the more back end stuff, like some of the number crunching, figuring out the damages, resistances, etc. But I'm not a visual artist. I'm not a UI artist. I'm not a sound guy. A lot of things I know I can't do.
Yeah.
But number crunching is stuff I can do.
Micah, do you have an answer for this question? I know it was directed at Jesse, but have you ever thought of your own RPG game story arc and mechanics?
Nope. I'm kind of in the same boat. I would have no idea where to start with a story. I mean, I feel like if I was kind of on a team and other people came up with most of the story stuff, I could have input and maybe be helpful. But just creating a story out of nothing is not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you say that because Micah and I have worked together on hobby projects. It's been a long time since we've done anything
That's
game development wise, but we did one in college where my cousin who does world building uh, had an idea for a game, and we were like, yeah, we'd like to make that. So we he had like the general sense, and maybe we pitched in some ideas here and there, and we did a Kickstarter for that back in the day. Didn't pan out, obviously.
yeah,
Otherwise, we'd be
especially because
telling you
we
what that
had
game
to
was.
rush it a little bit because we're all getting busy with school.
Yeah,
Some of us getting jobs.
it didn't time out well for where we were at in life. But yeah, if you ever look up what Shardweaver
Shard
Colo,
Weaver Colo.
I was mixing up the project names because I want to talk about the other project we worked on after because life got really busy. My cousin got married and kind of had to bail on the project, and so a lot of that fell apart. Uh, no fault of anybody's, just life. Micah and I worked on another project where I came up with the story arc basically, but worked with Micah and some of our friends to get input and ideas on a game called High Wraith, and that was that never really got very far. But I did do like world creation and stuff. I had this like plot in my mind, a general plot of where I want things to go, and I'd still be all for making that game. I think the mechanic we wanted to use, Jesse, you might think this is interesting, was we wanted to do it in the style of like Zelda 2. So an overworld that we were going for a Paper Mario aesthetic, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Kind of like the no, more like Octopath.
Yeah,
those like
partially because it'd be easier than animating models and things.
yes. So we were going for like a 2D, 3D. But then we wanted it to be an overworld where then when you got into encounters, it turned into a 2D fighter like Zelda 2. So that's the mechanics we were going for.
See that?
And we had like a basic plot and story and wanted to get that to a point, but it just never got there, and we haven't really had time to get there since. So yeah, it's been a while since all those things. But so something, thanks for asking the question. I think it is interesting. I think everybody has like in the back of their mind like it'd be cool to work on a game. It's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah.
A lot harder than you think. Especially, I mean, Jesse, you consider yourself like a software developer of sorts. I don't know what your job title is.
Yeah, that's my full-time job.
Yeah, so that's as well what I do for a living, and Micah just graduated in software engineering as well. And you'd think that that's not enough. You need definitely art and sound and all of that stuff if you want to be like a one-man team doing indie work. In fact, I'd probably say the art side's a little bit more necessary because a lot of programming, unless you're getting really into it, that's it. Yeah, I don't know. It's not an easy thing to get into, like you'd think.
Yeah, you definitely need someone who knows art and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I feel like it's something that not really everyone can learn. At least for me. I'm pretty sure like no matter how many art classes I take, I will never become any sort of artist.
Yeah, well, now not modern games. It's pixel art is probably easier to do than it was back then. Where back in the NES days, you had not only had to worry about what the sprite, but each sprite was limited to two colors, like two colors and transparency. So 3 possible options, and then you would switch the palette around to choose different shades of what those two colors are. So if you wanted to have a character that had 7 colors to it, you'd have to draw layers of the sprite and have them all drawn in the right order to make it look like you want it. So they're definitely not as today you can probably just say I want the sprite to look like this and done. But it had to be broken down into pieces back then.
Yep.
And then there was still a limit of how many sprites could be represented on an x-axis.
And that's where you get things like Mario's. We're talking NES here, right? Mario's design was his overall character look. He had a hat because that
hair
looked
was
better
hard
than hair, and he had overalls to give distinction to his arms. Those kinds of things.
He had, I think, a mustache because mouths were hard.
Yeah.
Right. But like using like the Mario 2 the model or the sprite, there's actually like there's I think 2 or 3 sprites high, but then in order to have the eyes are different color than the rest of the sprite, so that's actually another sprite of a different layer. So if on any X line, you're limited to like 8 or so sprites, and you're already using up 4 because there's like 2 sprites side by side and then layered, so you got 4 sprites in there. So that limits the number of other enemies that could be on that same row before you start seeing flicker. So if you're looking at a Mega Man game and see a lot of flickering and slowdown, that's exactly why, because you've run out of sprites on one particular X row.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad it's simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah, modern hardware can handle more things at once. That, I mean, we're not limited by like how CRTs draw graphics, which they played a big part of how the earlier systems work. Now everything's digital and cleaner and easier to see, easier to show what you want to show versus being filtered through scan lines.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can pick that up in audio, but it sounds like one of my kiddos is having a hard time going to bed up above me. He's running around like crazy.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. I don't think it's being picked up. It doesn't look like it in the tracking.
Yeah. I had a vacuum going on upstairs. I don't know if you heard that or not.
No.
I heard a little bit, but Discord has a pretty good noise filtering, so it was only when you were talking. So that's nice.
And I was muting myself as much as I could too.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for the question. So let's move to the next question from LPD on Discord. Asks, to me, this isn't really a question. This is a statement, but it has a question. To me, there's one big brand that Nintendo has really ignored in recent years. Nope, not F-Zero, not Metroid, not Kid Icarus, Game Boy. How would you like them to bring life back to or celebrate the Game Boy brand and catalog? Micah, you want to go take this answer to this question first?
Sure. Let's be honest. I don't really feel like Game Boy brand needs to be brought back.
Oh,
I mean, they got the 3DS and the Switch, which can also be a handheld. I feel like it's kind of evolved on. That's not to say that there aren't a bunch of great Game Boy games. I'd love to maybe see some of those ported to the Switch or 3DS. Because, I mean, there are definitely some games I'd love the opportunity to play again.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think getting some of those games somehow to Switch would be awesome. Jesse, how would you like to see the Game Boy brand?
32 years ago, we had the Game Boy. It has now grown up. It is now the Game Man.
The Game Man.
I kind of agree that I don't think we really need Game Boy anymore because the DS was the successor to the Game Boy, which then had the multiple generations before going to the Switch. And I think I'd like to see more of the old games brought back through a virtual console. They did some of that with the Wii U and the 3DS, but not much on the Switch. I know people were hoping for a classics-like device. I don't know if that makes sense on a Game Boy. It's basically a Game Boy with games already installed, as opposed.
Yeah, there was.
It could literally look no different than it did back when 30 years ago.
There was a good conversation
and that would still be overkill in the size.
Yeah, as you say, there's a good conversation about that on our Discord. I think Spider Shan brought that up. He's like, I'd love to see a mini like you get with the SNES and NES Mini.
And people are going to want to use HDMI to play it on the screen, but that looks so ugly. I've played GBA games via Game Boy Player on a bigger screen, and they look awful because they're not designed to be played that big.
Yeah. Lower resolution things look better on a real small screen.
Keep it to a 3-inch screen or so. But try to play that on a 65-inch screen. Like I have a Retron 5, and one of the first things I did to test it was I threw my Pokemon Red card in and booted it up on a 55-inch TV, and it looks awful.
Yeah.
Playable, but awful.
I was gonna say, didn't Game Gear do a little like micro Game Gear recently?
Yeah, I think they had 4 different models, and they were like smaller than the Game Boy Micro. They were like 1.5-inch screens. You can barely see it. The controllers are so small you can barely play it. I don't know what the point is.
Why don't they do that? Just like a little baby Game Boy.
But each unit had 4 games that are playable. Then with no duplication across models. So if you want the entire library, you have to buy all four of these, and these were still like $60 or $70 each. So not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
if
I
you
don't
wanted
want
the
to have
whole
a
thing, it
bunch of
was
separate devices.
yeah. If you wanted the whole thing, it was like $400, if I recall correctly. So, might have been cheaper than that. But yeah, I'll jump in and say I would like to see Game Boy Advance, or is it Advanced? I think it's Game
I
Boy
think
Advance.
no D.
No D.
So-
Uh, I want to see more of those games come to the Switch. So that's what I would like to see next for a Nintendo Online system. So we've got the NES,
Yeah.
we've got the SNES. I don't really think it makes sense to put N64 on because they're so profitable to just port and sell separately, unfortunately. But I feel
Yeah.
like GBA games coming over would be a cool deal. So bringing those over in a library.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
That's what I would like to see done for Game Boy. I think the name Game Boy is cool. Like, it's one of the best
It's
names they've had for a
iconic.
system. So I do
Until
agree.
Captain N used it.
I don't remember Captain N using Game Boy. Was that his like sidekick?
Yeah, he was introduced during season 2. It was
Yeah.
basically a living computer that shaped like a Game Boy that it's 4 foot tall. Named Game Boy.
That. I don't remember that. That's pretty great.
Okay. I just remember in my semi-recent playthrough of Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, I can't remember if it was the Game Boy or Game Boy Advance, but they like mention it in the game, and I just miss things like that. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh
But
man, the Game Boy
they
Advance
also-
is pretty great, huh? I
and
remember.
they also mentioned Fire Emblem. They're like, this cool new game came out, Fire Emblem. I've been playing it a whole bunch. Like, what? What is this advertising in your game?
Yeah, I do think
Well, then,
there's a good library. There's a really solid library of games out there for both Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. That would be really cool to see come back somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with Jesse. I don't know how much it does make sense for them to do a mini or to do a Game Boy with those preloaded onto it. You might as well just buy a Game Boy at that point. I mean, maybe they do like
and there are third parties trying to do just that.
yes, maybe that's what they do though. Is they just make a new Game Boy model that's like a backlit Game Boy that can play old games. That would be cool. That's very un-Nintendo to re-release a system like that though. They tend to focus on the present.
Yeah, I think if they do it, they would do it with, come prepackaged with 30 or 40 games. It won't take cartridges. It can't be, you can't add content to it without
Mods,
modding it,
yeah.
which I'm sure it'll just be easy to mod as the NES and SNES was. Because people are smart.
And definitely backlit, so you don't have to buy one of those little lights.
I remember that.
Yeah.
It was like it like flipped up. You could get
It's
that,
a
or
little
like
terrible,
a
yeah.
little reading light.
It was like the telephone cord kind of thing.
Yeah.
Twisted, you can like bend it to...
When we played at night, I would like be sitting just really close to the window and trying to catch street lights between like Pokemon battles, and just be like,
Yeah.
okay, I use this move.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you're
I
out
use
in the
this move.
car on road trips, yeah.
Man, the days.
I remember. Yeah, I remember when I was in high school. I was in the orchestra pit, like during like choir show, and where we couldn't leave when we weren't playing. We were stuck in the pit, and so I had my Game Boy with earphones and the light and the magnifying piece, and playing it in the orchestra pit while the choir is singing on stage.
That's awesome. That's a good spot.
My teacher says as long as they can't see it in the house, I don't care what you do.
Nowadays,
That's
those kids are all playing Switch down there. They're all playing. Yeah, that's pretty great.
Oh, man.
Thank you for the question, LPD. I agree with you. Game Boy needs to come back in. At least the library needs to come back again. Then we have a question from Seth, $2 hero on Discord. He asks, he points out, last week a Japanese company elected to give its employees the day off for the release of Monster Hunter Rise. Each new Dragon Quest release is practically a national holiday for Japan. So, what game or series would you like to have a holiday for?
Well, just for the most days off, I'd have to go with Mario because they release the most games.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good
Mario
thinking.
and Zelda's are the two easy ones. Kind of thinking outside of Nintendo, I was thinking probably like if there's like anything like a Red Dead type of, was like it has a lot of hype behind it. Anything like a Grand Theft Auto would have enough hype behind it that people would want to take days off.
I feel like it would be just wrong to have a day off for Grand Theft Auto Day. What are we gonna call that? I get what you're saying though. Those are definitely huge games here in the States when those release. Skyrim Day, Fallout Day. These titles don't work very well.
Just Bethesda Day.
Bethesda Day.
Yeah, that's be a little better.
Then
we'd only have that holiday like every 10 years or so.
People would take the day off only to find out that they can't play it until the next day because the servers crashed.
So true.
If I'm gonna pick a specific game I want a holiday for, it's probably gonna be Breath of the Wild 2. I just feel like I would love to have the day off to just sink all my time into that game. I mean, that's essentially what's going to happen when that game comes out, probably. I'll probably ask for time off or
so
that
sick.
First day off. Yeah.
I don't recall ever taking the day off because of a game release. I have not slept very much as a result of one. Like midnight launch, I'll play until 4 a.m, sleep for 2 hours, and then get up to work. But
I don't
think I've ever taken time off.
I don't believe I've taken time off for a game release either. Breath of the Wild 2 might be an exception for me, but I think what I'm saying, like whatever my first day off is, it's going to be like that whole day is going to be
the Wild.
Breath of the Wild. If it's Saturday,
I think Justin tried doing that with Apex Legends, but again, the servers were down until like 3 p.m.
Yeah, I remember that. I felt bad.
Unfortunate.
Poor Justin couldn't catch a break with Apex. Yeah. Mike, I was surprised you didn't say Metroid Prime 4. It's in your contract to mention it at least once an episode, and we haven't talked about it.
I kind of cut out a little bit, but I was going to say, like, for the most days off, I'd choose Mario. I don't know if you heard that.
Did.
Just so I'm hoping these are paid days off. So, but no, if not that, I've got to go with Metroid Prime. I'm gonna. Yeah, when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I'm going to be playing that a lot, day one.
The thing with those is that they do work well for a holiday name. Like, it's Metroid Day. I mean, we have Mario Day, March 10th. But Grand Theft Auto Day, just, I don't know.
It doesn't roll off the tongue as well.
Just it'd just be called Rockstar Day or something.
Yeah, you have to go with the brand. Yeah, I really like that question. I think it's funny. I do think it's hilarious that so many people called out sick for Monster Hunter Rise that they just gave everyone the day off.
I don't know how true it is, but I think I heard that, like that particular company's owner also wanted to play the Rise, and so he just said, okay, everyone can just stay home this day.
We just need to get all CEOs into Nintendo. Get everybody a Switch.
Yeah.
And then we'll be set. All businesses will shut down on Nintendo big release days. Direct days are kind of that way. You're kind of like, oh yeah, it's Direct Day. It's like a holiday when they have a Direct coming out.
Yeah. I may or may not have used company time to watch Directs and like
This is
I won't
this is
like
preserved,
go.
so hopefully nobody.
I won't do a live reaction to it on a day I'm working, but I still like will watch it between calls. I'll like watch it for 10 minutes, take notes, and then I need to get back on this call.
Yeah.
Right.
Anymore, it's like this is a very stretched of a connection here, but ESPN and like sports channels, you know how they just have bars going with like headlines and news going all the time, and like things on the borders like, oh, this is happening over here and this is happening over here while they're talking about it.
But bugs and tickers.
I mean, we essentially are getting to that point with gaming news. So it's like, even if you're doing something else, your phone is like alerting you with like, oh, this is out now, and this is out now, and this is out now. So yeah, it's it's they're events when we get a direct, or when we get these whatever everybody else calls them, all sorts of stuff, not directs, state of play, and
Like just
what did we do?
presentations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all these
Or Sakurai presents and Square presents.
yeah, all these
Pokemon presents.
all these big commercials is what they are that we're volunteering to watch. So that does it for questions.
Well, I normally do take E3 week off because you know hobby journalists. I want to focus my time on that, and that kind of started back in 2011 where I went to E3. So obviously I needed to take time out for that. But I think
I
every
remember
year since that, I've always taken E3 off to watch and write about it and talk about it.
I remember you were scheduled to go to this last one, right?
Yeah, I was going to
Well,
go to
not this
2020,
not
and
this
then
last one, but the one
2020
before.
happened.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting for 2022 if they have one. It depends on if the whole ESA organization collapses in on itself or not this year.
So we got a little bit of time. I do want to hear your thoughts on it because we're getting close to that time frame on E3. Do you like the direction it's going? Would you prefer to have E3 or something like it? What are you wanting to the game industry to evolve to?
I don't like where it's been going. The E3 is more than just get to I'll have every company come out and spam out news. If it was, then E3 itself hasn't been needed for years, and everyone can just do it digitally on their own. But what a lot of people don't see is behind the stage communications between companies. Like, this is how your indie developer who might have the smallest booth available to show off their game finds a publisher. The publisher, hey, I like this game. Let's meet after the floor closes, and we'll work something out. So if people aren't there physically to be face to face, those types of meetings can't happen. So
Right.
I was I was upset when when 2020 was canceled. That was the reason why I was upset, is because the business behind the curtains can't happen if there are no curtains.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. It makes
Yeah,
it a
so
lot harder
and
for those smaller companies because
yeah,
you'll just get lost in a flood of stuff. It's
yeah,
a showcase of sorts for a lot of these companies to be able to show, oh, these games, these are, and it gets not only people hyped for games coming out that are attending live, but also on the business side. Yeah, totally
yeah.
agree.
And for most people, E3 ends when the keynotes are done, and that happens before the show floor even opens on the first day. So most people are watching until Tuesday morning and then they're done. But the people who are actually at E3, they start Tuesday morning and then go hard all week into Friday, or I guess Thursday now. But
Well, not only are we missing that, but the way that it happened for 2020 felt so sporadic and random. Like, it was hard to track everything even as just a regular consumer to see, oh, this is coming out and this is coming out.
Yeah, Keeley had their summer gaming thing, which was like a 3-month long trickle of information.
I really,
that
so I gotta say, I respect that he tried to do something, but it was so long and random. It wasn't like an event,
right,
you know?
right. In order to, if you want people to pay attention to it, you need to have the people say this precise moment I'm going to be saying something, and then people will be there for that one moment. If you're going to say I'm going to be talking off and on for 3 months, people won't care.
Yeah.
Or know when to come in. Like,
Unless you're IGN or someone where you get paid to sit there and listen to nothing happening until it does, no one's going to listen.
Yeah, I'd be down to be paid to listen to nothing happening till something
Yeah.
does. I'm down for that. I agree wholeheartedly. It was just hard to, especially when everybody was doing their own thing, and Nintendo did nothing, and you're like, well, what Nintendo games are coming out? I better go to the Square thing. I better listen to the Bethesda thing. I better listen to this thing. Just
Yeah, and I watched all those expecting Switch news to come out of something, and nothing ever did.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. It was
I just
weird. It was.
Yeah. And then it also doesn't help that it's like Sony and Microsoft aren't even there on the show floor anymore. Like Microsoft will do their own thing on this in the building across the street during the same time as E3. So sure, you can still go over there and watch and see what they have, but while you're doing that, you're away from everything else. So that's not very convenient. And then Sony doesn't even show up anymore. They do their keynote and then they walk away. They have no floor presence at all. And they're one of the big stakeholders in ESA. So I'm like, why are you even in here if you're not taking part of your own presentation?
Yeah, yeah. Micah, what are your thoughts? What are you hoping for will happen as far as like game news delivery?
Yeah, I guess just be more organized. I was pretty much too lazy to try and track down all the presentations, so I just let you tell me about all the important stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, is you gotta, or if they're not organized, you just have to have a community of people that are interested in everything, or different
Right.
people that are interested in different aspects, and then they can tell you the cool stuff to look up.
I really leaned into the discords I was in at the time, to hear what was happening, because if you're in, someone was watching, right? And you almost have your
Yeah.
own community IGN at that point. So everybody's, since we're all working and have lives and stuff to do, like everybody was working together to share news. And yeah, that was it. It's just too chaotic for me. That's one thing I don't necessarily like E3, but I want something like E3. You know what I mean? Like I want an organization like that. Uh, but the way that they've been running the show recently has made it made it much less about the business, and so it costs a fortune to get there anymore, and it's just become,
Especially with they basically doxed everyone who went in 2019. Just had an unencrypted file sitting out on their website that anyone can yoink.
yeah.
And because of that, I seriously was reconsidering going in 2020. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna go.
I yeah, I think that as an organization they've done a poor job, but they also were the only ones doing it to that level, besides maybe like PAX, but that's a very different beast.
Yeah, PAX and a lot of those other cons are meant for the end user to touch things, get the and try out the demos, get information. But E3 it originally has never been intended for the end gamer. It was meant for the industry to get information to the press, and they used to be really selective about who they let in, and now they say, hey, give us $500 and sure, you'll get a ticket.
Yeah, and they've also become much more showy and more about the entertainment value and factor. It's very
I
much.
was not a fan of that because the show floor is hectic enough as it is with only media.
Yeah.
But when you start getting non-media out there, it's just gonna be more bodies. And as I said before, I don't like dealing with people, and so it was a stressful week.
Yeah.
I like the convention style approach, but those conventions don't have the business side to them to provide like actual solid announcements, if that makes any sense. So what E3 always had over something like PAX and those others was this is where everything is going to be. We're gonna have the big three guys here, and they're gonna be giving their big announcements. As well as they're going to be on the show floor doing the business stuff, and there's going to be all these games showing, and hopefully there's connections being made and companies working together. Where these conventions they don't have that, they don't quite have that business side to it, so there's not as much meat. There's a lot to do from a convention perspective, but not a lot to show, if that makes sense. Yeah. Not a lot, not big stuff to show.
One convention that's still has done a good job at maintaining what their initial focus would be GDC, Game Developer Conference. Again, that's not open to the public. They very rarely have newsworthy things to come out of it. It's meant for networking. Developers to learn things from other developers, to developers to get with publishers, and to that type of behind the curtain business. But with no, as I said, very little news comes out of it. So it doesn't have the eyes of 50 million gamers around the world wondering if anything's going to happen.
Yeah. And there's that is really what I'm missing from E3, because I never attended the conference in person. I like the big bulk of news and being able to find it all easily in one spot. That's something I miss and would like to have again. Well, that about does it. Nice impromptu topic on E3. Hopefully things work out and we get some way that we're getting our news and that game to game developer interaction. So, Jesse, do you want to plug over to yourself and your show as we close out here?
No, sure. We are the Nintendo Dads podcast. We do news, reviews, and opinions with a parenting spin. We started off as a podcast. It's like 6.5 years ago. We now expanded to YouTube and Twitch and trying to do more of the social media things. We're on just about every social media platform. I may not directly, but Justin has got does posts, and we have if then that set up. If we send a tweet, things go out everywhere else. Yeah, so we're if you look for us, we're easily found. We record live Thursday nights and post to really early Fridays. Like I have the shows live before I go to bed that night. So we'll be recording episode 320, about an hour after we're done with this recording.
Nice. Yes, so our episodes come out Monday, so you can listen to episode 320. Should be out. Have been out for a few days. Definitely go check them out. I am a regular listener. Nintendo Dads Podcast is probably my favorite Nintendo podcast besides this one, obviously. Obviously, gotta give love to myself first. No, they're a great show. Got a diverse cast on there, and we're on a quest to as we've said in our Discord, gotta catch them all. We're gonna get every Nintendo Dad host on here, and with Jesse, we've got 3 of the 4. So your move, Justin.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what one of the last shows I guested on, but they had the same goal, and I was their final card in that deck.
Nice. Nice. Well, definitely check them out. If you would like to follow us on social medias, you can do that. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Discord. If that counts as social media. If you would like to join up our Discord, all are welcome to join. It's as of right now totally free to join, and we welcome all. It's a family-friendly environment, totally non-toxic. Have great conversations about Nintendo and other stuff, board games, non-Nintendo news, and jokes, memes, all this, all the like. And we're especially accepting of lurkers. You know, those people that join and don't post, but just see. That's fine. Micah's a lurker.
Yeah, I actually am quite a bit of a lurker.
So yeah, definitely hit up our Discord. And let's see, any other housekeeping items. Special thanks to VGR for our intro music. And if you'd like to check out his stuff, links to that are in the description below. So with that, I think we have mentioned everything. Jesse, you want to give us off with a closing remark?
I was thinking of what to say, and again, I'm not very imaginative, so, and my son's got the same problem. And so I will say what he said, during his senior night bowling, where they announced all the seniors and they gave a sentence, a statement, something random, something meaningful, something completely meaningless, whatever they wanted to say. So I will end with just Monica.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, y'all.